There's a quiet war that rages within us, unseen but deeply felt. A whisper that says, "You're not enough. You can't. You won't." And we believe it again and again. Doubt isn't just a thought. It's a cage we build with our own hands. But what if the key was always within us? Buddhism teaches that the mind, when trained with compassion and clarity, becomes a source of boundless strength. Not arrogance, but radiant confidence, the kind that comes from knowing your true nature. You are not broken. You are simply waiting to awaken. If this message stirs something in you, like, comment and subscribe, because today we begin the journey back to your inner power. Somewhere in the silent corners of your mind, a voice quietly whispers, "You're not enough." It doesn't shout. It doesn't argue, but it lingers. It's there when you hesitate to speak up. It's there when you back down from your own dreams. It tells you others have something you don't, that you'll never measure up. And before long, that whisper becomes your truth. But Buddhism teaches something radically different. The Buddha said that every being possesses Buddha nature, a pure, unshakable potential within. This means you are not inherently broken. You are not lacking. You are simply clouded by illusion, like the moon behind drifting clouds. The light is always there. There's a Zen story that captures this well. A man wandered through the forest holding a rusty, unlit lantern, searching desperately for fire. He passed torches, bonfires, and hearths, but never stopped to light his lantern. He believed he had no flame, never realizing the light was within reach the entire time. That's how self-doubt works. We keep looking outside for validation, waiting for someone or something to prove our worth. But the truth is simpler and more profound. Your worth is inherent. You don't have to earn it. You just have to remember it. Think about your own life. When did you start believing you weren't enough? Was it a moment of failure? A criticism? A comparison? These moments are not the root, they are the trigger. The root lies in believing that those moments define you. But they don't. You are more than the worst thing that's ever happened to you. You are more than your past, more than your pain. Buddhist practice begins with awareness, noticing your thoughts without judgment, observing the stories you tell yourself. When the voice of inadequacy rises, meet it with curiosity, not condemnation. Ask, is this true? Who does this voice belong to? The path to confidence is not about changing who you are. It's about remembering who you've always been, a being of light, capable of awakening. What would your life look like if you stopped believing the lie of inadequacy? Share your reflection in the comments. There's a quiet war happening inside many of us, one we rarely talk about. It's the war between who we are and what we think. Thoughts like, I'm a failure, I'll never change, or I'm not as good as them. These thoughts don't ask for permission. They simply arrive, often uninvited, and we make the mistake of letting them settle in. We believe them. We wear them like labels on our soul. But Buddhism offers us a liberating truth. You are not your thoughts. The Buddha compared the mind to a monkey, restless, leaping from branch to branch, never still. Just like that monkey, Our thoughts jump from worry to regret, from fear to fantasy. And yet, as wild as the mind may be, we are not that monkey. We are the sky it jumps through, the observer, the awareness. Let me share a simple but profound Zen parable. A young monk once approached his teacher, troubled by shame and anxiety. He said, "Master, my mind is full of anger, fear, and doubt. I try to meditate, but these thoughts won't leave me." The master silently handed him a glass of muddy water and said, "Place it down and wait." The student watched. Slowly, the dirt began to settle. The water cleared. The master smiled and said, "This is your mind. When you stop fighting your thoughts and simply let them settle, clarity returns. You realize the mud is not the water." How often do we let muddy thoughts convince us that we are dirty, that we're flawed, broken, or lesser? But the truth is, just like the glass, the mind has its storms, and it also has its stillness. When you watch your thoughts instead of believing them, you start to break the illusion. Mindfulness is the path. Observing, not reacting. Just noticing, here's fear again. Or, this is the voice of self-doubt. You don't need to silence the mind. You only need to stop identifying with it. This shift is subtle but life-changing. Let's say you're doubting your abilities at work. Instead of thinking, "I am not capable," try reframing it. A thought is arising that says, "I'm not capable." Suddenly, the storm is not you. It's just weather, and all storms pass. This practice frees you. It opens a gentle space inside, a space where wisdom lives, a space where you can choose compassion instead of criticism, patience instead of panic. The Buddha taught that the mind is everything. What you think, you become. But more accurately, what you believe about your thoughts, you become. So believe less in their noise. Trust more in the stillness beneath them. There is a voice inside us that we rarely acknowledge, yet it speaks louder than anyone around us. It tells us we are not doing enough, that we should have figured life out by now, that every mistake, every misstep is proof of failure. It is relentless, and worst of all, we believe it. This voice is the inner critic, and for many of us, it has been with us since childhood, shaped by unmet expectations, harsh comparisons, and societal pressures. But Buddhism teaches that this voice is not truth. It is habit, a conditioned pattern of judgment that clouds our inner light. The Buddha spoke often of metta, or loving kindness. He taught that true liberation begins when we direct compassion not only toward others, but toward ourselves. That includes the parts we hide, the shamed child, the anxious adult, the doubting soul. Let me tell you a story from the Buddhist tradition. There was once a monk named Rupa who struggled with self-loathing. No matter how deeply he meditated, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was unworthy of enlightenment. One evening, after a long day of self-criticism, he approached the Buddha. "I'm not like the others," Rupa said. "My thoughts are filled with doubt. I am not pure." The Buddha looked at him gently and replied, "Rupa, a lotus grows in muddy water, yet it blooms unstained. Do not curse the mud. Without it, the lotus could not grow." That night, Rupa sat beneath a tree and wept, not out of despair, but out of release. He saw that his imperfections were not barriers to awakening. They were part of the path. How often do we curse our own mud? We replay past mistakes. We criticize our appearance, our careers, our relationships. We use language on ourselves that we would never use on someone we love. But healing begins when we realize you do not have to earn your worthiness. It is already within you. One powerful Buddhist technique is to sit in meditation and silently repeat, "May I be well. May I be happy. May I be free from suffering." At first, it may feel awkward, even fake. But over time, the heart softens. The inner critic loses its grip. In that stillness, self-love takes root. Think about your daily life. When you forget something, miss a deadline, or feel inadequate, what voice rises up? Is it gentle, or is it cruel? Now imagine how your life might change if, in those moments, you responded with compassion. Not weakness, not avoidance, but true understanding. Yes, I made a mistake, but I am still whole. When we treat ourselves with compassion, we are more capable of treating others the same way. We break the cycle of criticism, both inward and outward. You don't need to be perfect to be at peace. You need to be kind, especially to yourself. We often look at others and feel small. Their lives seem brighter, their choices bolder, their paths clearer. We scroll through endless images of perfection. Smiling faces, flawless homes, endless achievements. And somewhere inside, a whisper grows louder. You're behind. You're not enough. Comparison, subtle as a shadow, drains our joy. But Buddhism offers a path out of this suffering, a way to see clearly through the mirror of illusion. The Buddha taught that comparison is a form of tanha, craving, not just for things but for identity. We crave to be seen a certain way, to measure up, to matter more. But this craving pulls us away from contentment and into suffering. Because as long as you compare, you are never truly with yourself. There's a powerful Buddhist parable about this. Two monks, both disciples of the same master, lived and practiced in the same monastery. One was always praised by others, eloquent, confident, full of charisma. The other was quiet, unnoticed, and often doubted his worth. One day, the quiet monk asked the Buddha, "Why do I feel envy toward my brother? I meditate, I follow the precepts, but I still feel less." The Buddha replied, "Two seeds are planted. One becomes a banyan tree, the other a lotus flower. If the lotus envies the banyan's height, it will forget its own beauty. Both serve the earth. Both are complete." The monk bowed his head, tears in his eyes. He had forgotten his own path, blinded by another's light. This story reminds us, your journey is your own. The suffering comes not from seeing someone else rise, but from believing their rise diminishes you. But that is never true. In Buddhist philosophy, all beings are interconnected, yet unique. One person's success does not steal your light. The moon does not envy the sun. They both shine when it's their time. But how do we unhook ourselves from comparison? Start by becoming aware of when it happens. Maybe it's when you scroll through social media, or talk to a sibling, or hear about a friend's promotion. Instead of judging yourself for feeling envious, pause. Say gently, This is comparison. It's okay. I return to myself now. Then shift the focus. Reflect on your own growth, not in relation to others, but in relation to your own path. Are you kinder than you were a year ago? More patient? More present? That is the real measure of progress. Another practice is mudita, sympathetic joy. It's the joy in seeing others succeed. It may feel hard at first, but with time it becomes liberating. When you can genuinely celebrate someone else's happiness, you free yourself from the burden of competition. You open your heart wider. Comparison is the thief of presence, but awareness is the gatekeeper. And once you become aware, you can choose differently. You don't need to be the tallest tree or the brightest star. You only need to be you, fully, honestly, beautifully. Sometimes the most powerful shift in our life begins, not with a change in our circumstances, but with a single thought, a quiet, almost invisible moment when we choose to believe, maybe I am not broken, maybe I can start again. In Buddhism, the mind is known as both the source of suffering and the doorway to liberation. The Dhammapada opens with a powerful truth. All that we are is the result of what we have thought. It is founded on our thoughts. It is made up of our thoughts. A negative thought, left unchecked, becomes a belief. A belief becomes a habit. And soon we find ourselves living inside a story that was never truly ours. But the reverse is also true. A single positive thought, deeply held, can change the direction of an entire life. Let me share a story from the life of a lay disciple named Anathapindika, a wealthy merchant who supported the Buddha's teachings. Before he met the Buddha, Anathapindika was constantly worried about his business, his reputation, and the future of his family. He believed that his worth was tied to his success, and while he appeared content on the outside, he felt hollow within. One evening, he attended a teaching where the Buddha said, "The mind is everything. What you think, you become." That night, Anathapindika sat in silence under a tree, repeating a single phrase the Buddha had offered. "Let me be free of craving. Let me know the peace that is already within me." For the first time, he didn't pray for more wealth, or status, or protection. He simply planted a new thought, one of peace. And from that seed, everything began to change. In your own life, you may carry negative mantras without even realizing it. I'm not good enough. I always mess things up. It's too late for me. But what would happen if you replaced them with something gentler, more truthful? I am learning, and that is enough. I can grow at my own pace. Peace begins with me. It doesn't have to be loud. It doesn't have to be perfect. You only have to begin. The Buddha compared the mind to a field. If we plant thorns, we should not expect flowers. But if we choose our seeds wisely, with patience and love, our inner world can become a garden. A simple practice is this. Every morning, before looking at your phone or rushing into the day, place your hand on your heart and say, "Today, I choose peace." Just that, nothing more. Let that one thought guide your choices. Let it slow your reactions. Let it soften your words. And in the evening, reflect. Did I nourish peace today? Not perfection, not productivity, just peace. You will begin to notice how that one thought acts like a compass. It gently turns you back to center, again and again. The storms in your mind may still come, but you will not be carried away by them, because now you are rooted in something real. What is one positive thought you'd like to plant in your life starting today? Share it in the comments and subscribe to walk this path together. One step, one thought, one breath at a time. Regret is a silent prison. It lives in the corners of our hearts, whispering reminders of what we should have done, who we could have been. And as we grow older, those whispers often become louder. If only I had taken that chance. Why didn't I say what I needed to say? What have I done with all these years? But Buddhism teaches us that the past is not a place we are meant to live. It is a teacher, not a home. In the Satipatthana Sutta, the Buddha teaches mindfulness as a path to liberation, not just from suffering in the present moment, but also from the mental formations that bind us to pain. Regret, after all, is a form of attachment. We are attached to an image of who we think we should have been. But that version of you no longer exists. And perhaps they never truly did. There's an old Zen story that speaks to this truth. A monk named Ryokan was known for his peaceful heart. One day, a man came to visit him in tears. "I abandoned my family years ago," he said. "I chased wealth, hurt others, and now I am alone. I regret everything. How can I ever find peace?" Ryokan gently poured tea for the man, then pointed to a candle. "If a candle has burned poorly for hours," he asked, "does it still have the right to shine beautifully now?" The man was confused. "Yes, it still can." Ryokan smiled. "Then let it." This simple story holds a powerful truth. The past cannot be undone, but the present can be transformed. And transformation begins the moment you allow yourself to stop punishing who you were. We often mistake regret for responsibility, but they are not the same. Responsibility says, "I see what I did, and I will act wisely moving forward." Regret says, "I cannot forgive myself. I must carry this pain forever." But the Buddha never asked us to suffer endlessly for our mistakes. In fact, he offered us tools.
Звездица, звездица, сила, звездица, звездица. Ethical conduct.
Samadhi, concentration, and prajna, wisdom, to move beyond those mistakes and live more skillfully from this moment on. If you've hurt someone, seek forgiveness with sincerity and humility. If you've abandoned a dream, take a small step toward it now. If you've wasted years in fear or anger, don't waste another moment punishing yourself. Because this moment right here is still open to you. And if you're over 50, you may feel that time is running out. But Buddhist wisdom reminds us that peace is not measured in years lived, but in how present we are with the time we have left. One mindful breath can wash away decades of regret. One compassionate action can mend what was broken inside. So how do we begin?
Sit quietly.
Breathe. Acknowledge your regrets, not as enemies, but as old teachers who have done their job. Then say to them, "Thank you for what you've shown me, but I no longer need you to guide me. Release the chain. Let the candle burn brightly now." There's a quiet suffering that many carry without words, an ache born not from what others have said, but from what we have said to ourselves. "I'm not worthy. I'm too broken to change. I'll never be enough." We become our harshest critics, believing that shame is the price of improvement. But Buddhism gently invites us to look again, not with judgment, but with compassion. In the teachings of Metta Bhavana, the practice of loving kindness, the Buddha reminds us to offer goodwill, not only to others, but first and foremost, to ourselves. Just as a mother would protect her only child with her life, even so, let one cultivate a boundless heart toward all beings, beginning with oneself. But that's the part we often skip, isn't it? We extend kindness to others, while treating ourselves like a burden. We forgive our friends for being flawed, but we hold ourselves to impossible standards. Over time, we forget how to see ourselves clearly. Let me share a story from the time of the Buddha. There was once a woman named Kisa Gautami who was shattered by the loss of her only child. Grief overwhelmed her, and she wandered from house to house, asking for medicine to bring her son back to life. Eventually, someone directed her to the Buddha. The Buddha said he could help her, but first, she must bring him a mustard seed from a home that had never known death. Kisa Gautami went door to door. Each home offered her mustard seeds, but when she asked if anyone had died there, the answer was always yes. A mother, a father, a husband, a child. Slowly, Kisa Gautami began to understand. Her suffering was not unique. Pain touches every life, and in that realization, her heart began to soften, not only toward others, but toward herself. She buried her child and returned to the Buddha, who taught her the path of compassion and peace. This story is not only about grief, it is about how we wake up from self-pity and judgment and instead hold ourselves with the same gentle love we offer others. So, how do we begin to see ourselves through compassionate eyes? Start small. Each morning, as you wake, place your hand gently over your heart and speak to yourself the way you would speak to someone you love. Try saying, "I see your pain. I see your efforts. I forgive your missteps. You are doing your best." It may feel awkward at first. Your mind may resist, but stay with it. You are not trying to convince yourself of a lie. You are simply allowing space for a deeper truth to rise, that you are not your worst moments. You are the awareness that sees those moments with kindness. You don't need to earn your worth through perfection. Your value is already here, woven into your breath, your presence, your being. Even when you fall short, even when you feel lost, especially then. As Thich Nhat Hanh once said, to be beautiful means to be yourself. You don't need to be accepted by others. You need to accept yourself. So if you are someone who doubts yourself every day, take a pause. Notice how you speak to yourself. Notice the tone, the urgency, the self-blame. Then ask, would I speak this way to a child? If the answer is no, then it's time to change the voice inside you, not by force, but by kindness. Doubt is often not about the truth. It's about our lack of presence. When we lose sight of this moment, our mind becomes a mirror of distortions. It reflects our fears, insecurities, and memories, convincing us they are reality. But Buddhism offers a profound tool for clearing this mirror: mindfulness. The Buddha described mindfulness not as a way to escape, but as the only path that leads to awakening. In the Satipatthana Sutta, he urges us to observe the body, feelings, mind, and mental objects without clinging or aversion, just observing with clarity. Imagine this asterisk. You are walking through a misty forest. The trees are blurry, and you stumble, unsure of where you're going. That is the mind clouded by self-doubt. But then, the fog begins to lift. You see the path. You trust your step. This is the power of mindfulness. Let me share a story from the Zen tradition. There was once a young man named Haru, who trained under a master. Every day, he struggled with feelings of inferiority. One day he said, "Master, I feel like I am always behind others. I'll never be good enough." The master handed Haru a glass of muddy water and said, "Watch." They sat in silence. After a few minutes, the mud settled to the bottom, and the water became clear. "This is your mind," said the master. "When you stop stirring it with thoughts of doubt, clarity comes." Mindfulness is not a battle. It is an invitation. When you practice it, you're not forcing the doubt to disappear. You're simply allowing space for your deeper self to emerge, the self that is calm, knowing, and compassionate. Start with just one breath. Notice the inhale, the pause, the exhale. Notice the thoughts that come and let them float by like clouds in the sky. No need to judge, no need to fix, just be. When you doubt yourself, return to this breath. It is your anchor. It brings you back from the stories of not being good enough, smart enough, or strong enough, because the truth is, you are already whole. You just need to remember. It's a quiet kind of suffering, scrolling through other people's lives, measuring our worth against theirs. We see their careers, their families, their success, and think, "I'm falling behind. I'm not enough." But Buddhism teaches us that comparison is an illusion. The only true path is your own. In the Dhammapada, the Buddha says, "Let none find fault with others. Let none see the omissions and commissions of others. But let one see one's own acts, done and undone." Comparison takes us away from ourselves. It distracts us from the inner garden that needs tending. Instead of watering our own soul, we chase after another's fruit, forgetting that their tree grew from soil we've never stepped in. A story from ancient times speaks to this. Two monks, Takuan and Daisuke, lived in the same monastery. Takuan was often praised, sharp-minded, quick to learn. admired by many. Daisuke, slower and quieter, often felt overlooked. One night, Daisuke sat by the river, tears in his eyes. An old gardener saw him and asked, "Why do you cry?" "I try so hard," Daisuke said, "but Takuan is always ahead. I fear I'll never shine." The gardener smiled and pointed to the sky. "See the moon and the stars? The moon lights the night. The stars twinkle beside it. But none compete. They simply shine." In that moment, Daisuke understood. His peace was not in surpassing Takuan. It was in embracing his own light. We all bloom at different times. Your path is not meant to look like anyone else's. And every moment you spend in comparison is a moment you lose in building your own joy. So how do we let go of this comparison? Practice mudita, sympathetic joy. It's the Buddhist practice of feeling happiness for others' success without envy. When someone rises, instead of shrinking, expand your heart. Say, "I rejoice in their light, and I trust in my own." Because the truth is, their path does not take away from yours. There's space enough for all of us to shine. Sometimes, self-doubt becomes overwhelming, not because we are incapable, but because we are trying to leap an entire mountain in one breath. We look at how far we have to go and freeze. But Buddhism reminds us the path to peace is not walked in leaps. It is walked step by step. In the Noble Eightfold Path, the Buddha does not demand that we become enlightened overnight. He gives us a map, right view, right intention, right speech, and so on. Each a single step, each within reach. Think of a potter shaping clay. They don't slam it into form. They press gently. They mold, slowly, patiently. Let me tell you a story. An elderly woman named Sudha wanted to begin meditating, but she felt ashamed. "I'm too old to start. Others have been doing this for years. I'll never catch up." Her teacher smiled. "Just sit for one breath a day." One breath felt too small, but she did it. One breath turned into two, two into 5. A month later, she was sitting quietly every morning, smiling to herself. Sometimes the smallest step is the beginning of the greatest shift. Whether it's starting a new habit, speaking kindly to yourself, or facing a fear, you don't have to do it all today. Just one small act of courage is enough. Maybe that act is getting out of bed. Maybe it's choosing not to believe the old lie that you're not enough. Maybe it's pressing play on this video and deciding to change how you treat yourself. The power is in the step, not the distance. What is one gentle step you can take today to trust yourself more deeply? Let us know in the comments. And if you're finding strength in this path, subscribe and stay with us for the journey ahead. Everything changes. The seasons, the tides, the world around us, and yes, even ourselves. This is the essence of impermanence. One of the core teachings of Buddhism tells us that nothing stays the same forever. And with this truth comes liberation. For many of us, change can be terrifying. We resist it, cling to what we know, and wish for things to remain steady. But in reality, this resistance is what brings suffering. The Buddha's teachings remind us, suffering arises from attachment. When we hold too tightly to things, people, or ideas, we create an inner struggle. Change, when embraced, becomes the key to peace. Let me share a story. Ananda, one of the Buddha's closest disciples, was deeply devoted. He believed that as long as the Buddha was alive, everything would be safe. He couldn't imagine a world without his teacher by his side. But the day came, the Buddha passed away, and Ananda's heart broke, felt as though the earth had been shaken. Yet the Buddha had prepared him. Everything is impermanent. Ananda, he said, you must understand that all things come to an end, but the teachings I have left will guide you. Though Ananda grieved, he slowly came to understand. It wasn't the Buddha's presence that held the deepest value. It was the Dharma, the truths, the timeless teachings. In your life, impermanence is at work every day. The relationships you hold close, the habits you cherish, the fears you carry, all will change. But instead of fearing this, what if you embraced it? What if you saw impermanence, not as a threat, but as the gentle hand of life, guiding you forward? Each moment, whether joyful or sorrowful, is fleeting, and in that truth, there is peace. It's not always easy to let go, but letting go is what frees you. So when doubt arises, remember, this too shall pass. Whatever you are facing today, a challenge, an insecurity, a moment of pain, it will change. You are constantly evolving, and every change brings a new opportunity to grow. In a world filled with noise, silence can feel like a foreign concept. But in Buddhism, silence is not just the absence of sound. It is the presence of inner peace and clarity. Silence allows us to listen, not just to others, but to ourselves. It opens the door to introspection and understanding, leading us gently toward wisdom. Consider the life of the Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara, known for embodying infinite compassion. His wisdom did not arise from loud speeches or fierce debate. It was cultivated in the deep silence of meditation, where the mind could hear the soft whispers of truth. In Buddhism, silence is often equated with mindfulness. It is in the quiet moments that we hear the deepest truths of our hearts. But today, silence is rare. We fill our days with distractions, tasks, screens, noise. We run from one thing to the next, drowning out the silence with sound. But silence doesn't mean inactivity. It is not emptiness. It is spaciousness. It's the stillness that allows us to reflect and discover the answers we've been searching for. Silence lets us see things clearly, especially when we doubt ourselves. Imagine a still pond. The water is calm. Its surface reflects the sky perfectly. Now imagine throwing a stone into it. Ripples spread. the reflection becomes distorted. But when the water is calm again, clarity returns. This is the mind. When filled with noise and doubt, everything is distorted. But when we allow silence, when we sit with stillness, the mind clears, the truth is reflected. To embrace the wisdom of silence, carve out just a few moments each day. Maybe 5 minutes of mindful breathing, quiet walk, sitting alone without a phone. Let your mind settle, let the ripples fade, and in that peace, ask yourself, what is true? Don't force an answer. Let it rise from the quiet knowing that lives deep within you. Because in silence, you will remember what noise has made you forget. It is a fundamental truth in Buddhism. We cannot give what we do not first give to ourselves. Self-love is not selfish. It is the root of all compassion. Without a deep and genuine love for oneself, it becomes impossible to offer true kindness to others. The Buddha's teachings on karuna, compassion, urge us to begin within. How can we wish others freedom from suffering when we are still imprisoned by our own self-doubt? How can we radiate warmth if we do not first tend to the coldness inside? A story from the life of Queen Srimala offers us profound insight into the nature of self-love. Queen Srimala was wise and deeply compassionate. She was also a mother, known for her boundless devotion. One day, a young disciple asked her, "How do you manage to love others so fully?" She smiled and replied, "I first love myself without pride, without ego, but simply because I am a living being, just like anyone else." Her wisdom is clear. To love others, we must first recognize our own worth. Not through the lens of our flaws, not through the shadow of our mistakes, but through the simple truth that we are worthy of love and care, just as we are. You may be used to self-criticism. Maybe you even believe it's necessary for growth. But true growth doesn't come from harsh judgment. It comes from understanding, from patience, from kindness towards the self. To practice self-love, start by treating yourself as you would a dear friend. When doubt arises, offer words of comfort instead of blame. Say gently to yourself, "I am doing the best I can. I am enough." Let those words settle into your being, not as a mantra of escape, but as a truth you are finally ready to believe. Allow yourself the space to be imperfect. Allow yourself the grace to grow. Every step you take is meaningful. Your journey is sacred. And when you begin to walk with love in your own heart, you'll find it flows effortlessly into the hearts of others. In a world that thrives on instant gratification, the Buddhist principle of patience can feel like a foreign concept. Yet, patience is one of the most powerful qualities you can cultivate. It teaches us that everything unfolds in its own time, and rushing ahead only leads to frustration. The Buddha, during his quest for enlightenment, did not seek shortcuts. He spent years meditating under the Bodhi tree, facing his inner demons, allowing each moment to unfold without forcing it. His transformation didn't happen overnight. It was the result of a deep, unwavering patience, a trust that the journey, no matter how long, would bring him to the truth. One of the most powerful stories of patience in Buddhist teachings is about the Bodhisattva Metteyya. He was a monk known for his unwavering patience and faith in the future. Metteyya understood that not all things happen immediately, and that life's greatest blessings often take time. He vowed to wait until the world was ready for him to step forward, and he patiently lived through many lifetimes, knowing that the right time would come. Patience is not about passively waiting for life to unfold. It's about actively engaging with life, while trusting that things will happen at their own pace. Whether it's waiting for the right career opportunity, a relationship to heal, or personal growth to manifest, patience teaches us that everything has its season. For many of us, doubt arises when we feel stuck, or when we believe that time is slipping away. We may fear that we are not moving fast enough, or achieving enough. But in the stillness of patience, there is immense strength. We begin to trust in the process of life, knowing that every moment is an opportunity for growth, even when it doesn't look like anything is happening. So, when you feel the weight of doubt, remember the wisdom of patience. Trust the process. Trust that all things will unfold in their own time, and trust that you are on the path you need to be on. One of the most profound teachings of Buddhism is the importance of living in the present moment. We often dwell in the past or worry about the future, but the Buddha urges us to release these distractions and fully embrace the present. The present moment is where life unfolds, and yet it is often overlooked in the hustle of everyday life. The act of mindfulness, paying full attention to the here and now, can seem simple, but it is transformative. There is a story about a Zen master who had a student who was constantly preoccupied with the past. He asked the student to sit with him in a peaceful garden, and as they sat in silence, the Zen master asked, "What do you hear?" The student replied, "I hear the rustling of the trees, the chirping of the birds, and the wind." The master nodded. "What do you see?" The student replied, "I see the flowers, the clouds in the sky, and the sunlight." "Now," the master said, "forget all that. Forget the sound of the birds and the beauty of the flowers. Just be in the present moment." The student, confused, asked, "But what do I focus on?" The master smiled and answered, "Focus on the awareness of your own presence. Be present with yourself in this moment. Not the past, not the future, just now." The lesson here is that the mind is often lost in time, either revisiting past regrets or worrying about the future. But in reality, the present is all we truly have. When we live fully in the moment, we find peace, because we are no longer fighting against the current of time. For many, doubt arises when we are consumed by what has already happened or by what might come. But what if you allowed yourself to simply be in the present moment? Imagine releasing the weight of the past and the anxiety of the future. How would your life change if you embraced this moment as it is, without judgment? In practicing mindfulness, we begin to dissolve self-doubt. When we are fully engaged in the present, there is no room for negative self-talk or worries about the future. You are enough right now in this very moment. As we journey through life, doubt will inevitably arise. It's a natural part of being human, but it doesn't have to define us. By embracing the teachings of Buddhism, the wisdom of impermanence, the strength of patience, the power of silence, and the gift of the present moment, we can break free from the chains of doubt and step into a life filled with clarity, peace, and love. Remember, you are already enough. The doubts that linger are not truths. They are just passing clouds. In the vast sky of your being, trust in yourself, trust in the process, and know that with every moment, you are evolving into the person you are meant to be. We hope this journey has helped you understand the Buddhist path to overcoming self-doubt and embracing positivity. If this video resonated with you, leave a comment below and share your thoughts with us. And don't forget to subscribe for more wisdom and growth on this beautiful journey we are all on together.